What's up, everyone? Welcome to a very special bonus episode of the Arnies. I'm Austin Terry, and I'm joined by Matt Johnson.
Hello. I don't know if there's going to be an introduction, but hello, everyone. It's a pleasure, as always, to be here.
And don't worry, everybody. Keith will be back for our regular episode this week. He just decided to sit this one out. And to any new listeners joining us for the first time, welcome. We are the Arnies, and this is a show about movies, TV, gaming, and everything in between. Today, we will be talking all things DC FanDome. For those of you that don't know, DC held their big Comic-Con style event this past weekend. They had lots of panels, released tons of new movie footage, and had some game announcements as well. Matt, before we get into all the news, what were your quick thoughts on the event as a whole?
It was just really cool of DC to do this event amid everything going on in the world, particularly, in our case, the coronavirus obviously prevents them from holding a Comic-Con in the traditional sense, so they essentially just did a Comic-Con that's only DC stuff that covers kind of all of their different businesses, games, movies, TVs, everything, comics, of course, and they just put it all out, 24 hours, and there's going to be another day of it, I think, in September with some more cool panels. So the event itself, the idea and the presentation was really cool. But yeah, the last thing I'll say about it before we dive in deeper is just, for the most part, I found the panels a little bit bland, a little bit boring. Ultimately, it kind of felt like the directors and people talking about what they were working on, it was stuff that we already knew for the most part.
It kind of felt like everyone was like either in two stages. They were either like were really bored and you could tell they didn't want to be there, or they were like overly excited and like trying to be too happy almost.
And it was just, yeah, I mean, some of the panels I think were just timed poorly. Like the Black Adam panel, for example, it was cool, to see The Rock finally talking about the movie. But it was like, 20 minutes long? And basically they just announced, yes, he's Black Adam. Here's a concept art for what I might look like. Here's Noah Centineo, who's playing Atom Smasher. We talk about our workout regime. And then they just answer questions. But, I mean, The Rock says up front, like, we haven't started the movie, not starting it for a long time, depending on the coronavirus. But here it is. And so he just stands there for 20 minutes answering questions that, I mean, who knows if they're going to be relevant once they start making the movie. So stuff like that is where it got a little bit boring and I think long in the tooth.
Okay, well, before we get to the actual event, we have to talk, I guess, kind of the biggest news of the weekend, but it was announced that Ben Affleck is returning as Batman, and this came out before the event even happened. So Ben Affleck will return to play his Batman in the upcoming Flash movie.
Right, and it seems like this could have been something they did to tease the event, kind of like, here's some big news, you'll get more at the event.
And then not talk about it because everything was pre-recorded.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, but the director of The Flash, Andy Muschietti, was like, his quote about Ben Affleck's Batman is how such a substantial and emotional part he plays in the movie. And it's like, this couldn't have just happened. I mean, they couldn't have just recorded these DC FanDome things like long ago. I feel like, I mean, either way, then just like record like a 2-minute video and just tack it on at the end saying that Ben Affleck will be back. It was really weird because, I mean, they talked about the Flash movie for 10 minutes. It was a really quick one, no pun intended. And yeah, it just seems like they didn't talk about the Michael Keaton thing. They showed concept art of he and Batman together, and the Batman clearly was, at least in concept art, it was Michael Keaton. But again, they didn't mention it, and they definitely didn't bring up Ben Affleck. So it was kind of odd.
Yeah, we might as well just get into the Flash panel as well since we're here. But like you said, that in this panel they have a moment where they just bring up Batman like casually in conversation, and then it cuts to like a new page and it says, "Speaking of whom," and then they don't announce Ben Affleck, and it's like, what was the point of even having that in there if you're not like? It just felt like a really big missed opportunity to have a really cool moment. And like the Flash panel was early in the event, so it would have been like a great way to kick off, like to start this event for the weekend.
And I mean, even though we already knew the news, it still would have been nice to hear it in like another context from the director.
And from DC and Warner Bros. Officially, because the news came from Variety. So it would have been nice to have it like officially confirmed by the people in charge of this stuff.
Yeah, that would have been cool. It sounds like that's still going to happen, though. It sounds like both of those Batmans are going to play a big part in the movie, so, I think that's something that people out there can get excited for. It's cool Ben Affleck's back. You and I have already talked about the one thing I'm wondering is, like, I guess there was always talk early on when they started talking about Flashpoint that they could just have Ben Affleck be in it and it would be like his swan song. Like they would do, like what they do in the comic is you have Bruce Wayne at the beginning and then Flash embarks on his, big Flashpoint adventure. And then at the end comes back and things have changed. And the new Batman he's talking to looks different. It's a different style suit, looks a little bit different just overall. Still Bruce Wayne. And then they have the emotional impact where he gives them the letter from Thomas Wayne.
I was in agreement with you that this movie probably will be his swan song and it's like his way to like exit the role gracefully. But then in this panel, they leaned so heavily into the multiverse and were even clear to say like, we can have multiple Batmans exist at one time by doing the multiverse. So now I'm kind of thinking that they may be testing the waters with the Snyder Cut, which we'll get to, seeing how that's received, seeing how Ben Affleck's received in The Flash, and then maybe somehow there's room for more Ben Affleck Batman movies as well.
Yeah, I mean, it always seemed like DC never pushed Ben Affleck out. It kind of seemed like he left on his own volition. I think they really wanted him to direct that movie. They really wanted him to write the Batman, but it sounds like he just couldn't make it work creatively with that team at that time. And then he just ended up deciding to leave. But it is cool he's coming back for Flash. The big question, like you said, is, we'll see new footage of him in the Snyder Cut. But beyond that, will we see more of him? Like, will working on the Flash, and maybe if the Snyder Cut is received well, will those things maybe lead to him wanting to still appear in I don't even know what you call it, I guess the DCEU proper, like that timeline, that multiverse, like that world, whatever you want to call it. Like, will he still appear in those movies, like a future Justice League movie? Could he pop up in a Wonder Woman movie, Aquaman, like stuff like that? So I guess this is a good way to kind of test that and see, what he wants to do. So I feel like if Ben Affleck was like, hey, I'll do more, they would just jump at the opportunity.
So what did you think of the rest of the Flash panel as a whole? We got to hear from Ezra Miller, we got to hear from Andy Muschietti, the director, and then Christina Hodson, the writer, as well. I think that really the other big news is the new suit, I guess, is the biggest thing that they released.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's kind of like the Black Adam one. I mean, the concept art looks really cool. It's, I think it'll be more telling when we see it in action. I was never a huge fan of the Flash, like the Snyder version of the Flash suit, which was basically armor. I liked it practically. I liked how they talked about what it was made out of and how that was kind of relevant because basically it's kind of like a realistic way for the Flash to run that fast and not like disintegrate, basically. So I thought that was cool, but just in terms of the look, I never really liked how it looked like armor. So I like that they're doing kind of like a middle ground between the Snyder version and then like the Grant Gustin version, for example. So I think it looks cool.
They're kind of clear to say that it was designed by Batman as well, so who knows? I guess it's implied Michael Keaton gives it to him, but maybe Ben Affleck does too.
Yeah, I don't know, because in concept it would seem like Ben Affleck would, but then right as they were saying Batman made it, that's when they showed the Michael Keaton concept art. So who knows? I have no idea.
And we haven't really had a chance to talk about the Michael Keaton news on the show. So what do you think about Michael Keaton being in this movie as well?
I think the fact that he's in it and he's getting to come back is cool. In concept, I think so many people of so many different ages are going to be so stoked to see, and that's awesome that they're going to get to experience that. I'm just not a huge fan of the Tim Burton movies, frankly, and I've watched them when I was a little kid, like in the 90s, and I watched them as I got older. I've watched them multiple times at different ages, and I always, like, each time hoped I would connect with it more, and I just really don't. I do like Batman Returns quite a bit more than Batman 1989, but I still don't love that version of, particularly, it's the version of Bruce Wayne that I don't love. I think his Batman's, good enough. I just clearly, I don't have the same love for him that so many people do. So if you're asking me, am I excited to see that version specifically? I think it could be cool. Obviously, he'll be playing it older, so we'll see how it changes, but I'm not as excited as everybody else is for this one. And, of course, with them doing this, and it kind of sounds like he's going to be the main Batman of the movie, it might not get the Thomas Wayne, the Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne that people, I think, were thinking we would get when it came to a Flashpoint movie, since he obviously played Thomas Wayne. So would we get that if they ever did Flashpoint? If people don't know, in the comics and then the animated film of Flashpoint, the main Batman that the Flash meets when he goes to the other alternate timeline as Thomas Wayne is now Batman, and Bruce Wayne was killed instead.
I think if you had to give people the choice between seeing Jeffrey D. Morgan's Thomas Wayne or Michael Keaton's Batman, I think a majority of people probably would have chosen Thomas Wayne. I know I definitely would have been in that camp. I really hope Michael Keaton is not playing his Batman. Like, I hope it's a new Batman that he's playing, because I just don't understand how his Batman would work in these type of movies. I just think it would be too campy. Like, it would just feel really outdated. So I'm going to reserve like my opinion, I guess, till we see footage. But at the moment, I'm kind of nervous about Michael Keaton being in this film. Yeah,
I assume he's going to be playing his version of Batman. And I think in terms of the campiness, I guess at the very least, if you're going to put him in one of these movies, you kind of have to pair him with Ezra Miller's Flash, who is kind of the standout camp factor of Justice League. So we'll see. I think it could pair together well. It's kind of just a lot we don't know, because we've gotten some news, but it hasn't been confirmed by everybody, so we're a little unclear.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, well, let's get into the Wonder Woman panel. This one really had a lot more of Q&A with fans submitting questions and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which was fine. I'm never really super intrigued by that sort of stuff. But we did have a nice moment with Linda Carter and Gal Gadot, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a really nice moment. That was cool to see them interact and talk about how much they love each other, and kind of the inspiration both Gal and Patty Jenkins, the director, took from seeing Linda Carter play that character. It was a really sweet moment that we don't often get in panels like this, and we certainly didn't get in a lot of the ones coming up. This was like an actual really cool emotional moment.
Yeah, and this was the first panel where they actually released footage. They did put out a new Wonder Woman trailer. What did you think of this trailer?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I'm excited for this movie. I'm excited to see more Wonder Woman. I'm excited to see the cast of characters they put together. Cheetah, Max Lord. It's going to be interesting to see how Steve Trevor comes back. It seems pretty clear at this point that that's Diana's wish that Max Lord is granting her. But we'll see how that plays out.
Pretty clear.
Seeing her, so many years later in the 80s, it's obviously going to be a cool setting. I really dug the trailer. The only thing about it that I was a little bit iffy on was some of the action. It looked a little bit, I guess that's kind of how I felt about the original. I liked the choreography on the original, but some of the CG and like visual effects that were behind Wonder Woman looked a little off to me at the time, and it looks like that might be the same here. And then the big one that I'm, like you said, I'm going to reserve a judgment for it because I want to see it more in action, like up close and stuff. But just on the surface, looking at this trailer, which obviously isn't a completely finished product, the Cheetah full-on transformation where, Kristen Wiig as Barbara Minerva actually transforms into the Cheetah that we know look-wise from the comics. It looked a little off CG-wise, but again, that was just some quick cuts and wide shots, and we didn't really see it too much. I'll reserve judgment, but just off the top, that definitely does not look finished yet.
Yeah, she almost looked like she's from the movie Cats.
You're right. She does look a little bit like she's from Cats because they left her, the middle of her face. She looks like a cheetah, but the middle of her face is a bit kind of like a white spot, like a lighter spot, and they left some of her facial features in it. So it looked a little odd in the one scene we saw. But
I'm happy you're reserving your opinion until you see more, but I think it looks terrible. Not the movie, just Cheetah.
Yeah,
but yeah. I have always also kind of thought Kristen Wiig was a weird casting for that role. I'm excited to see what she does, but her final form as Cheetah looks like hot garbage at the moment. So
yeah, I think she'll do the best she can. I think she obviously has comedic chops, and she's done some good dramatic work. If people want to see her in something more dramatic, I'd recommend the Skeleton Twins. But yeah, I think she'll do well. It's just, how will it look? I don't know.
It does look like Chris Pine as Steve Trevor is going to come back with a little bit more of the comedic stuff that we saw from the first one. I think they're going to have some nice moments, which will be fun to see their relationship continue.
Yeah.
I did see Jessica Chobot speculating that eventually Wonder Woman's going to have to choose between saving the world, which would probably result in Steve Trevor disappearing when she destroys the Chaos Stone, and then also taking out Cheetah. So I guess we'll see what the big choice is at the moment.
Right, because the tough thing is, in terms of the timeline, Again, kind of weird. We know what Joss Whedon with the theatrical version did. I don't know if... I think Zack Snyder said in his panel that like Wonder Woman grappling with Steve Trevor's death is still a part of it. So it does kind of paint you into a corner where it's cool Steve Trevor's back in the 80s, but I mean, obviously at some point he either, dies or goes back to being like dead and like, you know what I mean? Like he just disappears because in present day he's not there. So it seems like they kind of have to adhere to the timeline in that sense.
Yeah, I'm still excited for this movie. I'm a huge fan of the first one. I think that's probably my favorite of the new DC EU films.
Yeah.
I don't find the 80s setting as interesting as World War One, but we'll just see what happens whenever the movie actually comes out. Yeah,
it's just one of those things. I mean, World War One it's such a huge global event, but it's actually not explored terribly too much in film. Yeah, so that was such a cool setting, and the 80s, of course, is just like the hot thing right now. I feel like we see it in so much that it feels a little bit kind of like we're getting past it, but I think they'll still, make the best out of it if they can.
Okay, so the other kind of middle part of the event came out with some big gaming news. So we got to see footage, gameplay, and a trailer for Gotham Knights, which is coming from WB Games Montreal.
Yeah, so the team behind Arkham Origins is back, making what I thought was going to be another Arkham game or a game set in that Arkham universe, and they even say before that, like, billionaire Bruce Wayne found dead in the wreckage, and it's like, oh shit, like, I was so excited. I was like, oh, this takes place after Arkham Knight, like, and it's going to be about the Bat family. And then it got a little weird for me. I think the gameplay looks cool, but the story is what I'm concerned about, because I just don't have much to go off of, since it's just, I'm not even in a bad way, it's not the Arkham universe, so it's its own thing. The art style I didn't like as much. It's a little bit brighter. Obviously, a game where we can play as, the 4 members of the Bat family, at least the 4 most well-known, is awesome. So I'm excited to do that. Just really curious about the story. And then kind of just at the end, they just shoved in that the Court of Owls is going to be a huge part of this mystery too. So that was kind of shocking as well. So yeah, it was kind of just getting hit with so much. And then the reveal that it's an RPG as well. And it's like less about the free flow combat. It was just all shocking. I guess I was just surprised that they changed it up so much. Like, you would kind of on the surface think that they might want to utilize what worked so well for the Arkham stuff, but I guess you also have to give them credit that they're willing to do something different.
Yeah, no, I thought the trailer looked really cool. Batman being dead will be an interesting story to follow, especially since we'll be in the roles of the Bat family, so we'll probably get to see them dealing with that in some way. Mm-hmm. I highly doubt he's dead for the whole game. I'm sure in the final act we play as him.
He's going to be like the Talon, right? Like, he's going to be involved with the Court of Owls thing, like faking his death, and like he might not be in control of his actions or something. But yeah, I imagine by the end, I don't know if we'll play as him, but he'll be back, and maybe that'll set up, a sequel where we can play as Batman too. Who knows?
Yeah, but playing as the Bat family was some of my favorite parts of the Arkham games. So to be able to do that in like a huge open world, I think is going to be really fun.
That's the most exciting thing. I mean, that's the thing that we've been asking for since Arkham City, because, I mean, we had playable Nightwing and Robin, but we could only play as Batman and Catwoman. And Catwoman did technically, I mean, you could do open world with Catwoman. It felt so much smaller and not as easy to navigate the style of world that they constructed. And then Arkham Knight, there were some really great segments where we got to play as them, but they all just felt so confined, and there was only quick moments where we could fight together. So it's cool that we're getting a full game where we'll be doing that.
The developers were also clear to say that there's more to the mystery and the villains than just the Court of Owls. So we'll have to see what that twist is. Hopefully it's a better twist than what we got in Arkham Knight, though.
Yeah, Arkham Knight was unfortunate. They really just shouldn't have talked up Arkham Knight being an original character so much. I'm literally not joking. The second Arkham Knight, we heard him talk for the first time. Which was like maybe an hour into the game, I was like, ugh, it's Jason Todd, guys. Like, damn it.
Yeah, so dumb.
And hopefully, W Games Montreal also learns from their kind of weak twist. Well, hold on. It was a good twist that in Arkham Origins, Joker was masquerading as Black Mask. It was cool, but lame. Like, that they just forced Joker in there again. So, I mean, we'll see. We know Mr. Freeze is in this game. I wonder what other Batman villains we'll see. And you would think, I mean, Joker would play an element since, he's such a big name and they love using him. I wonder what will happen there. Who knows?
I really hope Joker's the main villain that you face when you play as Jason Todd.
Oh.
I think that would be cool.
Oh, okay. I thought you were making a joke at first, like have him be the main villain again. But I
really hope. Yeah, I hope for Jason Todd's story, the main villain's Joker. I think that would be some cool. moments.
Yeah. I bet that's going to. I bet that is what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get to get some co-op action, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be fun to play. I mean, once we get into it, like one cool thing with the RPG side of it is, we saw in the trailer even just so many different variations of the suit. So I'm really just excited that I can have my Robin look different than other people's, and like I can make it look how I want. I think that's going to be really cool. And playing together, I mean, I feel like it's going to be fun. I mean, being able to play a game that has different gameplay than the Arkham games, but, similar in some ways, getting to play that with a friend is going to be awesome, I feel like.
Well, so the other big game announcement we got is this one's from Rocksteady. It's set in the Arkham universe, but it's Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
Man, well, everything you just said sounds so cool, huh? But it didn't look cool.
So they showed a trailer.
I'm not excited for this.
We got some Will Arnett interview action.
Ugh. And I love Will Arnett. This may have been the least funny Will Arnett's ever been. And I love him. But yeah, this did not work. I was so excited for this game. Rocksteady's been like notoriously, they've been silent since Arkham Knight came out in 2015. Like, what the hell are they working on? And then
for a while it was rumored they were doing like a 1940s Batman.
Yeah, like there were so many crazy rumors. And then this is what they
Superman
announced.
Game.
Yeah. And they announced Suicide Squad. So obviously that was cool. And then the poster was really cool. It's called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And it's with Superman with, like the target on his head. Very cool. And we knew it was going to be co-op. And then for whatever reason, it's just the second the trailer started, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the vibe and kind of just how bright it was threw me off. Again, it is Metropolis, so I know it's different than Gotham, but I guess it just threw me off, and we don't have gameplay. They announced it's not coming out till 2022 for next-gen consoles, so there's a lot of time we don't know what the game plays like, so, there's still so much unknown, but I can really only base it off of this trailer, which I didn't love. So we know, basically, at least, I don't know if this will change, but the base game is just going to be 4 characters. It's going to be Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, and Deadshot as your Justice League. And it looks like Brainiac has taken over, as the Suicide Squad. Brainiac has taken over the Justice League. So they're kind of going crazy. And Amanda Waller is sending in the squad to kill him or capture them. I don't really know. But that's kind of the premise of it. And it sounds cool, and it definitely could be. I'm just, again, going off the trailer, I didn't really like the vibe of it.
The only one of those characters that even remotely seems interesting to play as is Deadshot. I don't want to. I've never had any strong desire to play as King Shark, and I absolutely
what we all have
as Captain Boomerang.
Yeah. There are some cool things they added to the characters, I guess, to make them work. I mean, Captain Boomerang has a boomerang that he can throw, and then I guess he's able to warp to that boomerang. And then they've given Deadshot like a jetpack, essentially, that he can also use to kind of throw fire at enemies. So they've added kind of cool stuff that I think will make at least some of these characters that seem kind of basic a bit more fun to play as. So we'll see.
I do like the way King Shark's character is written, though. Like, yes. It's funny that he's the smart one. So that could lend to some cool moments.
Yeah, definitely a different version.
I'm not excited for 40 hours of the Harley Quinn voice, though.
Yeah, I love Harley. But, yeah, the Arkham version of Harley is particularly grating. Again, that is the point, that, she really gets under people's skin. So we'll just have to see. I hope, as long as it's written well, I can deal with it. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes. And I'm curious to see who the Justice League actually is, because, the other huge reveal we got that I was really nervous about after watching the trailer, but Sefton Hill from Rocksteady did confirm that this game is not only in the Arkham universe, but it's a continuation. So this is a Justice League post, Batman kind of disappearing again. We know at the end of Arkham Knight, we saw the Nightmare Batman. It's very ambiguous what happened, but I think it probably goes without saying that Bruce Wayne won't be in this game, not on the team, but will we see other Bat family members? Who is this universe's Justice League Lots of cool stuff there. And he did specifically say that because this is a continuation, we will see certain storylines and things that popped up in previous games get resolved here. So I think particularly that would probably have to do with Harley, I would think, since she did play a big role in the other games, kind of what she's up to post Joker's death, how she's been dealing with it. I think that could be cool. Deadshot was in Arkham City. I think he was white, so he got a character redesign, which I'm fine with. I don't think his design was particularly exciting in the previous games. So this is cool. And he seems like a lot younger, which I was surprised at. I think he's easily the youngest on the team, which seems to kind of go against what is usually done. But that was a cool dynamic. So yeah, we might get some Deadshot stuff resolved. And obviously, since the Justice League is here, they could take some stuff that happened via Batman and the Bat family. If we see anybody, we can kind of find out maybe what happened after Arkham Knight. So lots of cool stuff.
I trust Rocksteady. I just wasn't very impressed with this trailer. So, and this game also isn't coming out until 2022, so we'll have to see what comes out over the next year and a half or so.
Yeah, I feel like once we see gameplay, we might be more into it. And once we know a little bit more about the actual story, maybe we'll, enjoy it more. I wouldn't be surprised if we like it more. It's just on the surface, it was a little bit underwhelming for me.
So it does seem like of the two of these games, we're more excited for Gotham Knights, I'd say.
Yeah, which is shocking. And again, to be fair, that game comes out next year and we got a lot of gameplay, so there's a lot more to judge. But yeah, I definitely going into this didn't expect that I'd be more excited for the WB Games Montreal versus the Rocksteady game because, Rocksteady made the 3 better Arkham games. I'm not a huge Arkham Origins fan, and that was Montreal. I do like it, so it was kind of just a funny flip that I wasn't expecting.
Well, we got the Suicide Squad game, and now we got the Suicide Squad movie.
Nice.
Round 2, second attempt. We didn't really get a trailer. We did get some behind-the-scenes footage.
Which was odd. Can we talk about that? That was odd. Because
that was kind of odd.
I didn't even really think about it until later, but the Batman, we got a 2.5... it's called a teaser trailer, but they cobbled together a 2.5-minute trailer that's only footage from the first, 25% of what they've shot. Because before they got shut down. And that comes out in October 2021. And Suicide Squad, I think, is still coming out in August 2021.
And they're done filming, too.
Yeah, they're completely done. Which has been so weird, because this movie was shot, a while ago. But I guess for whatever reason, they wanted to wait to put it out until, over a year. So, whatever. It was weird we didn't get a trailer, but yeah, go ahead and keep going, because we did get a cool behind-the-scenes footage, at least.
Yeah, so there was some behind-the-scenes footage stuff, which looks cool. But I think the biggest announcement here was which actors are playing what characters.
Right.
And everyone's been curious about who Idris Elba's playing. He's playing Bloodsport.
Yeah, it was cool to see the full cast and confirmation of who they're playing. I'll be honest. I think I do know a lot about the DC world, but I don't know a lot of these characters.
Yeah, they went really deep into the Rogues Gallery,
which is cool.
James Gunn has kind of proven himself with the smaller characters of Marvel, so I'm sure he'll do some good stuff here as well.
Yeah, and I think I could be wrong, but I know I don't know how big of a Marvel fan he was before he got hired for Guardians of the Galaxy, but he clearly has a lifelong passion for DC and these characters. And he was talking I don't think he was throwing shade at Marvel, but he was just being pretty upfront that this is. He thinks this is the best movie he's ever done. He thinks this is the one that he's the most proud of. And he was telling the cast when he was going through footage that he's just so happy with what it's coming together. And I believe that. So that's really cool to hear.
I wonder how many times it was required in his contract that he had to go out of his way to say this was so much fun. And
we were joking about that during the panel. I do believe him. He seems genuine when he says it. I think it's cool that he's saying that, he's so proud of it and, this is the best he's ever done. And we know what he's done before, so. It
is really funny how, with the David Ayer Suicide Squad, both him and the cast were this is so much fun. We're the squad. We all got tattoos. And now, this cast is doing, basically the exact same thing with James Gunn. They're trying to sell it as everyone's just had so much fun. But as we know, with the David Ayer Suicide Squad, the fact that the cast had fun filming together did not lend for a good movie. So
No.
We'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, I think this one might be rated R as well. It feels like it's leaning that direction, and
especially since Birds of Prey was just rated R too. I bet they would.
Yeah, actually, yeah. There you go. It's a great point. I feel like since that was, you might as well make this one. So, and they've even said that it's basically a 1970s war movie combined with the wacky Suicide Squad characters. So I feel like it's going to lend itself to an R rating. So yeah, man, this was pretty cool. The actual panel itself, at least it was better than Q&A. I did actually have, the game they played, the trivia game on the surface isn't interesting, but it did lead to so many funny moments with the cast interacting, and Michael Rooker, I was just like dying laughing with like the way the cast treats him and makes fun of him.
That was really
so
funny.
This was one of the better panels for me. It was one of the longer ones, but at least they had fun with it, and we got to see the cast interact. Because a lot of these panels, surprisingly, didn't utilize like the big casts they have. Like maybe they would bring in one person, but this one, they literally brought in like the entire Suicide Squad. So it was a huge panel. It was fun.
Yeah. So let me run through this cast and who they're playing, and bear with me, audience. It's a long fucking cast. So we have Viola Davis returning as Amanda Waller, Joel Kinnaman returning as Rick Flag, Margot Robbie returning as Harley Quinn, Jai Courtney returning as Captain Boomerang, Idris Elba as Bloodsport, John Cena as Peacemaker, Nathan Fillion as TDK, Pete Davidson as Blackguard, Michael Rooker as Savant, Sean Gunn as Weasel, Flula Borg as Javelin, Peter Cabadelli as the Thinker, David Dasmaklian as Polka Dot Man, Daniela Mencleor as Ratcatcher 2, Maylin Ning as Mongol, Storm Reed as Tila, Alice Braga as Sol Saria, Steve Agee as King Shark as well. So this is a crazy cast. I did not realize like how many people were in this movie and how many characters were in this as well.
Yeah, I think part of it is because they've been pretty open that, don't get too attached. I think unlike the first, what happened in the first one? We lost that, the guy that can climb anything, as Rick Flag said, Slipknot.
Slipknot?
He died, at the beginning, and they just used him to show how serious she was about killing them. Who else? Enchantress died, but she was the bad guy.
I like that they have a lot of people to kill off because it gives Amanda Waller more power to be intimidating, as a character.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to lend for a lot of opportunities to show that she does not care about sending these people into missions where they're going to die. I don't think it's just going to be her blowing people up as they try to escape. I think there's going to be a lot of shots of her sending people into missions and then they're just immediately killed because it's the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be really cool to see a movie that actually kind of fits the description of what Suicide Squad is.
I didn't expect to be excited for this one just because of the first one, but this panel and the footage we saw got me really pumped.
Yeah.
And I also do want to mention that it does seem like John Cena's Peacemaker is having a large role because they kind of talked to him a lot in the panel, and he has a big presence in the behind the scene footage as well.
Yeah, they in the behind the scenes footage they called him out specifically, the character, and what they
said he's
about.
A douchey Captain America,
and basically he's so into peace that he's willing to kill as many people as he needs to in order to achieve peace for either himself or people. So kind of a interesting description. Yeah.
And then one last thing before we move on is this is just an Austin Terry theory,
Ooh.
But because Idris Elba is playing Bloodsport, I do think that leaves an opportunity for Superman to be in this film because the only thing Bloodsport's known for in the comics is shooting Superman. So I don't know why you would do his character if you don't want to have Superman in this movie.
Yeah, and they mentioned that in the panel too. So maybe Superman.
Yeah, they were clear to state that.
Maybe that'll be. Could we see kind of like how Batman arrested Deadshot? Could we see him trying to kill Superman?
That's what I'm leaning towards. I bet it's just a quick shot like that.
That could be cool.
But that would be cool. And there is that rumor going around that Henry Cavill is doing multiple cameos. So maybe he's got a cameo in this one lined up.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be down with that.
Well, let's do some quick hits. We are going to do the Snyder Cut and the Batman, but let's run through the really smaller panels quickly. There was an Aquaman 2 panel. It was 4 minutes long, and they announced no info. Yeah, they only had James Wan and Patrick Wilson, and literally the only thing they said is there is going to be a sequel, and there's going to be some new worlds. That's the only info they gave. So who knows what's happening in that one.
It was also weird that Jason Momoa, we were joking about, he was absent from everything, which was odd because this was pre-recorded. So it's and they clearly, because Ezra Miller looked different in two different panels, one completely shaved and one not. So they did it on different days. So we were wondering where Jason Momoa is, that he couldn't be in any of these panels. So it was kind of interesting.
There also was a Shazam 2 panel, which was honestly my favorite panel. It was really funny. I think it's cool that they let all these different properties like kind of make their own panels, and you can tell the Shazam cast had a blast putting theirs together. There wasn't any news. They did announce the name. It's called Shazam Fury of the Gods. And there was a ton of Superman jokes. But they never confirmed anything. Like every time they did a fan question asking if Superman was going to be in it, and right as Zachary Levi was going to answer, they cut away. They had another fan question about Superman playing the mentor role, and they once again cut away from that. So I do think Superman is going to be in this movie, and he also, just judging by the questions that they like allowed to get on screen and the jokes they were making, I also think Superman could have a larger role in this film than people are thinking.
Yeah, that was another weird thing. We were expecting at some point in any of these panels, they might say that Henry Cavill is either going to appear in the movie or he's going to appear in some movie. But yeah, so there was none of that, no confirmation. So we're kind of just speculating at this point. But yeah, it does seem like this could be a good bet at least.
The last really quick panel they did was Black Adam. So there wasn't any footage. There was a lot of storyboards and some concept art with The Rock doing a voiceover. They also did announce the JSA characters that are going to be in it. So we're going to have Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher.
That was cool. I'm particularly excited for Dr. Fate. I like Dr. Fate a lot, and seeing him, or her, I guess, technically, in live action is going to be cool. But this panel was garbage other than that. I mean, it was literally just 20 minutes of The Rock promising that this movie's going to be good, but then...
Not just promising. The Rock gave us his word. We got a Rock promise, baby.
He not only gave us his word that it's going to be good, but he also just kept saying over and over again, this is something we've never seen before. And I just don't really care or believe it anymore.
We're going to change the game. We're going to change superhero movies forever.
Oh, God.
It is set in present day though, which I was surprised because this is the origin story. But it does look like we are getting a lot of Kahndaq stuff. And I think we're going to get a lot of stuff like in Egyptian society, which will be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I think they're going to be doing both timelines to show off what happened and all that good stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I think a trailer could definitely sell me, but just the descriptions and storyboards wasn't really enough for me.
Okay, so let's get in to some of the biggest panel of the day, or one of the biggest ones. There was a SnyderCut panel with Zack Snyder taking some fan questions, talking to the leader of the SnyderCut movement, but then he also did bring some footage.
Yeah, it was a weird panel. Again, it was just him answering questions that I felt like, for the most part, we knew. It only got interesting towards the end when he started describing the movie. And
I am glad that Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck at least had like a small part of this panel, because it was good to at least like see them participating in some DC stuff.
Right.
But still very weird that it was just Zack Snyder for the most part. Like, why didn't they have the rest of the cast in on this panel, like talking like they were with all the other movies?
Yeah, it seemed like a Suicide Squad type panel would have just been really great for this one in particular. I mean, hearing the cast talk about the Snyder Cut.
Especially because this is a movie with like the big A-list stars. So you would think they would want all these people together to like just generate some news,
Yeah, and it was a really long panel too. So it was just a lot of Zack Snyder answering questions and talking with the Snyder Cut movement people. So yeah, it is what it is, but it got interesting once he got to the end and started talking about the format. He confirmed a lot of cool things. He confirmed that it's going to be I don't think series is a right word, but it's going to be like a 4-part and 1 hour each. It's going to be released on HBO Max. He said they're also going to do a version of it that will essentially combine them into a movie format where you can just watch it 4 hours and without any, cutting away. So
yeah, and that's coming out after the episodes. So they're doing like the 4 episodes, and then they'll have the 4-hour movie as well.
Yeah, and they also said if you're international or you just don't have HBO Max, they are also... I was interested in this, that they're allowed to do it. I don't know how it's going to work, but he said that they are working on a way to distribute it beyond HBO Max, which was interesting because it was like exclusive. But so I guess people elsewhere will get to see it, which is good for them. So I wonder what that will look like. And that was most of the important news. And then he just dropped the trailer on us.
Yeah, so let's get into the footage. It is set to Hallelujah, which he used in Watchmen as well.
Which is weird. I mean, we got to acknowledge it. It is weird that he's using a song called Hallelujah and he uses it for this stuff. I mean, it is a little bit strange. I don't think it fits that well. I think it sounds good.
This wasn't his weirdest use of it, though. The weirdest use was the sex scene in Watchmen set to the song as well.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird. That was a way cooler scene, though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the footage itself doesn't really give us any story. It's just kind of quick shots of like, here's what you didn't see in Joss Whedon's version.
Right.
So we see Darkseid. We see a little bit of the nightmare sequence. We see Iris West. We see Black Suit Superman. We see some shots of Desaad. Silas Stone dying while working on the mother box, which was a pretty big reveal.
Because he didn't die at the end of the theatrical. He was still alive.
Yeah. It also looks like Aquaman refuses the Atlantean gear, so we might get some more background on him. Steppenwolf's armor is completely different than in the first one. We also see Flash in the Speed Force, and then Batman has like a nice little monologue at the end.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, a lot of it is just kind of feels like alternate takes. Like a lot of it is the same locations, but they're just saying different things, which is kind of what we expected. But yeah, I mean, it was at least well put together. I liked the cutting away, like at the certain times to fit in with the music. Again, Say More Nightmare sequence was unexpected. I didn't realize we were going to get that. And we saw like a crumpled Hall of Justice, which was cool and surprising. And we saw Desaad, who looks really cool in kind of the Steppenwolf style CG.
Desaad looks fucking awesome.
I don't like Darkseid's look at all. And it was off to a bad start in the trailer whenever he lifted it up and like opened his mouth. It looked really weird. But I also recognize that
I don't think he's finished yet.
Yeah, I don't think he's finished. And also I think that Darkseid is the one from the past, like at the like years and years, like thousands of years before the events. And I think they're clearly like in present day. I think he's going to look a bit more like standard Darkseid. It's just this version is a little strange looking, but yeah. So a lot of it in terms of news and story isn't anything new, but it was still well put together and cool.
And I was fine with the way Steppenwolf looked in Joss Whedon's Justice League, but his armor looks really cool in this one too. I like that it's like living and kind of like moving around him. So I'm excited to get more of that as well.
Yeah, so it'll be cool to see. I mean, Black Suit Superman's cool looking. I'm interested to see like, because we only see Black Suit Superman in this like doing heroic things. Like we see him come out of the Fortress of Solitude. We see him punch Steppenwolf. We see him standing with the Justice League at the end. But I'm curious, like once they revive him, what will happen? I guess we know that they still have a version of that fight scene, but I wonder if there's anything more to it in this version. So yeah, lots to see.
There also is a really cool shot of Cyborg like saving a police officer from like a tank. It's a really quick shot, but it looks awesome.
The scene I liked was there was a scene where Cyborg, it might be like right after Silas Stone dies, but like he's like dripping. And so it looks cool because he's obviously, so much of him is metal, but then there's like water dripping off of him. And like, he like looks like he's not controlling his movements, and Flash behind him and looks scared. It was like a cool shot.
Yeah.
And then the Speed Force was really cool. We both called that out. This version of the Speed Force looks really interesting.
Speed Force looks awesome.
And then, the Batman monologue where he's like, I don't care how many demons he's fought, he hasn't faced us, not us united. Very Batman, very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that the footage at least looks cool. He's been telling us for years now that his movie is completely different, which I think was kind of hard to believe. But just from this footage, it looks like an entirely different movie. Like, it looks like it's going to be nothing like what we saw in theaters. I'm still nervous, though, because it does look like this movie is going to be full of cool fan moments, which a Zack Snyder film always has. But is the story actually going to be good? We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, because I mean, like we've talked about, it's not going to be a cut down movie. I mean, the way that they're doing this is they want all 4 hours. They want everything that he shot. So it's not going to be cut. So we can't complain like, oh, this is so over bloated, because I mean, it's almost like that on purpose. So we'll see how they flow together with these like essentially hour-long episodes. Like, I'm interested to see how that will work. But also, again, we still don't really know. I guess it'll depend on the reception to it. But I mean, if this movie is received really well, what does that mean for the future of the DC movies? Like, do they try and make a second one?
What does it mean for Zack Snyder, too, if this is received really well? Because his big criticism with all of his movies is he tries to cram too much in there. So if he gets what he wants and gets to put everything in there, there's no time limit, and it comes out and like people love it, what does that mean for the future of his movies? Is he only going to be able to make like crazy long films now from now on?
I don't know. Like, does DC bring him back as well? I mean, do we get... Because, I mean, if this movie's received well and they want to continue it, it's going to be a little bit confusing, like... Because currently with the DCEU, like, they're obviously going off that the theatrical version was canon. So what would that mean going forward? I mean, it's interesting. But I guess that's going to be dependent on if people love it. I mean, if they hate it, then I guess it doesn't really matter and they just continue as is. But I mean, if they love it, then that might change things going forward in the future.
All right. So we got to cap it off just like the event did. We got to cap it off with the Batman. We had a pretty long panel.
I think this was the longest one, like 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it was way too long of an interview with Matt Reeves telling us the thing that everybody says about making a Batman movie.
Yeah, he said he hit all the big points. You know, Batman's not a superhero in a traditional sense. Gotham, it's kind of like its own character. Did you know
Batman's a human? Did you know Batman's a human among these superpowered beings? Did you know that?
Austin and I were laughing yesterday because he said, I love Matt Reeves, by the way. I'm just like giving him shit. He said something that I've just never heard somebody say before. And I just thought it was so funny. He said, my version of Batman is a very alive character. It's just like, okay.
No, it wasn't even that. He said he's a very alive human.
Did he say human? He's a very alive human. I was like, what does that mean? But yeah, there are some funny lines. The problem was they just made this panel so long. So it was like 28 minutes of him just answering questions from Aisha Tyler, who was kind of moderating.
And there was 30 seconds of Robert Pattinson going, hey, we can't film right now.
That's how they opened it.
Here's the movie.
Oh my God.
Bye.
That's how they opened this panel. It was so funny. I was laughing so hard. I love Robert Pattinson. And I know that he hates like press and stuff like this. And like usually when he is seemingly like he's having fun, he's usually like doing a joke or he's like telling lies about his personal life to throw people off. But this, he just did not want to be there. It was really funny. I was dying.
Yeah, it also looked like he just filmed it in his closet too.
It was funny. But yeah, then the rest of it was just Matt Reeves. And I guess the trouble for us is we already knew basically everything he was talking about because it's kind of public knowledge. There really wasn't any news here. So it made it a bit boring. But I mean, to be frank, he did reveal that they've only shot 25% of the movie, but they gave us a 2.5-minute trailer that was pretty fucking awesome. So it worked out.
Yeah, let's not be like the panel. Let's not talk too much. Let's just get into the trailer. The trailer looks cool. It looks like it's going to be like a murder mystery kind of mob style movie. Mm-hmm. He also did say we're in like year 2 of him being Batman.
Yeah.
So there will be some origin stuff, but really it's going to be more of like the villain's origins, which I wasn't too excited about, but kind of the more I think about it, it could be interesting because these are some new villains we haven't seen on screen before.
Right.
So yeah, the trailer looks awesome. The action looks like it's going to be brutal. Looks like he might even be more brutal than Ben Affleck's Batman. And it looks like the Riddler's going to be like just a psychopathic maniac. So I'm pumped.
Yeah. It's just awesome. We don't see much just in terms of story because we know it's like basically all stuff from the beginning of the movie, like theoretically. But yeah, we see a version of the Riddler I wasn't expecting. He just basically wears a black mask, but he still uses his glasses, which was interesting. And he's basically a serial killer. At least that's how it looks.
I got a lot of, I don't know about you, I got a lot of the movie Seven vibes from this trailer. Yeah,
it felt like a David Fincher movie. But it was cool, and seeing Batman move around in the suit as opposed to just like that costume test they showed us was really cool. Seeing him like working with the police was interesting, and then seeing him fighting the police later was also interesting. And yeah, the beatdown he gives that thug was like amazing, but at the same time it was maybe more brutal than like the hand-to-hand stuff that Ben Affleck did, but like at least in like that one moment. But he didn't kill the guy. I mean, he just did what Batman does that like people make fun of him. He's like, he won't kill people, but he'll just like paralyze them for life. But he beat this guy down, but he clearly didn't kill him because he was talking to him when he said that he was vengeance, which was awesome. As fans of like the animated series and video games and stuff. But it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, no, I liked the majority of this trailer. I'm still not sold on the suit. I think the suit looks a little funny, especially when he's talking with the police, but we'll have to see the full movie. Maybe the suit might change over time. So from this trailer, though, the suit it's definitely not my favorite. So
yeah, it's definitely more like Matt Reeves said that this suit was made 100% by him. It's not like Batman Begins where he like bought pieces and basically assembled it and like just recolored it kind of. Like he built this suit, and I think based on what he's saying is over the course of his trilogy, because this is year 2, so I think over the course of it things will change, and by the end we might see a more traditional looking Batman, and maybe like a more traditional looking Riddler if we don't get it by the end of this movie. So we'll see. I like the idea of it kind of evolving over the course of a trilogy. So this first look was pretty awesome. It kind of sucks now that we have to wait well over a year to see the final film, unless it gets, delayed again based on what's going on in the world. So we'll see.
Yeah, 2021 is going to be a big year for DC for sure.
Yeah, it'll be huge.
All right, before we get out of here, is there anything that you wish had been announced that wasn't, or just anything that the event left you wanting more of?
I guess it would have been cool, to kind of like we talked about a little bit, it would have been nice to know what the future of Superman is, because we don't really know. Again,
I felt like that was a big miss.
Yeah, if he is doing cameos in these movies, that'd be cool. It's weird that they didn't confirm that anywhere. Like, it would have been nice to get a confirmation there. But if he does do cameos in the upcoming movies, that's probably a good sign. But it would have been nice to know if they have a plan for Superman, which is odd. There was one panel, maybe it was the multiverse panel I watched, where they just talked about like all the different multiverses they have. Like they had Greg Berlanti, who runs CW, and they had Walter Hamada, who runs DC, and then Jim Lee there, all talking about the different worlds and stuff like that. And it was cool, but he made he's like, we're definitely not developing Red Sun. But they didn't mention anything about the future of Superman. So I don't know. It seems weird. I don't know.
They also had a couple of things on the schedule like listed as surprise panels. And it's like any of those could have been used to like announce Ben Affleck, to announce Henry Cavill, to announce Man of Steel 2 or even new animated films. But none of the surprise panels like led to any like breaking news or anything like that. So
yeah,
I feel like in terms of like the footage we saw, like I feel like fans are going to be happy with the event. But I feel like this was a missed opportunity of DC to like really like own the weekend and have like crazy news come out. Like I feel like if Marvel had put this event on, like we would have had all kinds of breaking news, all kinds of new stuff being announced. And we didn't really, everything that got announced this weekend was stuff we already knew about.
Right. Like at Marvel and stuff like at Comic-Con, like they're always announcing new cast members. They're always announcing new movies we didn't know about, like future stuff, like collaborations and stuff like that. And here it's funny. I mean, we did get great trailers and great behind the scenes stuff. And there is some news, but it was shocking like how long the day was, that even though we got great trailers and stuff like that and release dates and some cast stuff, like there was very little actual news to take away. Like you can go show your friend a trailer, but you don't really have anything new to say about the Batman or, something else beyond that, because they didn't really offer too much.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because I feel like if anyone was going to write a recap about this event, they could fit all the newsworthy stuff in like a paragraph, I think.
Yeah.
And it was an 8-hour event. Yeah,
basically it's like go watch SnyderCut trailer, go watch Batman trailer, whatever. One little thing, actually, surprisingly, the panel that had the biggest news was one that I was able to catch, was the Titans panel, the TV show, which I like. I acknowledge it's not like an amazing TV show, but I have fun with it. But they announced that Curran Walters, who plays Jason Todd, is going to return as a villain in season 3 as Red Hood. They announced some other new cast members and new characters and new storylines. Blackfire is going to be the main villain of season 3, and what that means. Like that panel, like they were just throwing out news like like candy. But it was weird that was like the only panel. Like that's the one that's going to be throwing it all out there. Even the games, we saw gameplay and trailers, but and I guess that's kind of the point. I mean, they didn't really announce too much else because they really can't. But I guess. It was just different than what I expected, because we're so used to Comic-Con being about news, and this wasn't as much, just kind of like check out this trailer, essentially.
I fell off of Titans pretty quick, but I did catch the end of that panel, and they showed a clip from the second season of Superboy and his dog Crypto. Yeah. And my dog's name is Crypto, so I might have to go check out that show just for that.
Yeah, season 2 I liked. Yeah, I think you'd dig it. It might be worth going back to.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you're new, we hope you'll stick around and subscribe. We are currently in the middle of a bi-weekly Star Wars series, and we're going through the entire Star Wars franchise. Our Attack of the Clones episode drops on Tuesday. If you like what you heard here, please be sure to subscribe and share us with a friend as well. Also, if you want more DC content, we did do a 3-part series on Zack Snyder's DCEU, so be sure to check those out as well. Yeah, guys, and feel free to DM us over at the Arnies on Instagram. We'd love to chat with you. Let us know what ideas you would have for future episodes. We're always looking for new ideas. Feel free to DM us your thoughts on the series that we're currently doing, which right now is Star Wars. If you send us a message about your thoughts on Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith or anything upcoming, we'll be sure to read it on the show, so feel free to do that. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, at the Arnies is our social, and the Arnies.media is the website. And we'll be back on Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
See ya.